Hey, Gamecock fans, time for the Big Spur Brief here. Welcome to our YouTube page. Thanks for subscribing. I know some of you have done so, and I appreciate that. Our loyal listeners on the Inside the Gamecocks podcast, plus all of our members of VIPs, especially at thebigspur.com. I put in a crystal ball for a four-star offensive tackle for the class of 2023. For those of you that don't know what the crystal ball is, it's the prediction engine on 24/7 Sports, where we predict recruits. Marquis Anderson from Dorman High School, South Carolina, has not signed anyone from Dorman since the Holtz era. I got enough intel to know that South Carolina is probably the pick at this point. It's early, but certainly the Gamecocks are off to a pretty good start momentum-wise on the recruiting trail, especially in state and in Georgia. And they're working on some other areas as well. So a big deal there if you follow Gamecock football recruiting. Basketball, not much to say about the game Saturday. A very disappointing second half. I thought, Frank Martin was rightfully upset at his team afterward because they just kind of did not respond to adversity. And there's been times this year, the Florida State game, Georgia, Vanderbilt, where they have, and then times this year that they absolutely have not. And the last two games, unfortunately, have been that way, even though they did have a big run against Mississippi State to try to kind of get it closer. That game was over at halftime. So I think that this program right now in basketball is sort of at a crossroads. You got Kentucky coming in tomorrow night, opportunity for a huge upset, but is it likely? I don't know. Frank, after the game Saturday, made it clear that, hey, the Kentucky game is not the end of the season. If you lose it, it does. If you lose, send the team to 4-7 with 7 games to go, and the margin for error as far as getting to the NCAA tournament is shrinking, very small at this point. So, we'll see what happens, not only for the rest of this season, but moving forward with the Gamecocks men's basketball program. Shane Beamer, the head coach, at South Carolina for football, could be closing in on a new hire. Jody Wright, who's a former assistant coach at Alabama. He's actually off the field doing recruiting there. He was a GA at Mississippi State when Shane was there. Was with the Giants this past season, Joe Judge, as an offensive assistant. It looks like the leader in the clubhouse, former North Carolina and Florida assistant Tim Brewster, also is another name to watch for that. I would call Wright the leader in the clubhouse at this point, though, and signs are pointing toward a possible hire and Beamer nailing it down by the middle of this week. So we'll see what happens with that. Again, Gamecocks play Kentucky 7:00 tomorrow night in men's basketball. We'll see how that goes. We'll see how everything goes from here on out. Until then, stay tuned to thebigspur.com. Also, Inside the Gamecocks podcast for all the up-to-date information on the South Carolina Gamecocks. But good news on that crystal ball. It does appear like there's a tight ends coach on his way. And then basketball, probably not the best news, in terms of the game this weekend and what that kind of did to the old resume. Gamecocks now 105th in the net ranking, and you can kind of, at some point, it becomes about math, and there won't be enough opportunities to get quality wins for the Gamecocks to get back to the NCAAs for the first time since 2017. And that's a shame, because I think this team does have some potential. I think sometimes, it's a new group, and with a new group, they have to gel and learn how to play together and play winning basketball. It's really in any sport all the time, consistently. And there just isn't that consistency through 22 games this season. It just, it hadn't been there. Been some good moments, been some hard fought wins, but it just, Saturday was just severely disappointing. And when you play a team that plays defense like Tennessee, you've got to really, really get after it. And if you start to slouch and hang your head and things like that, they can light it up on you quick because they just play such good defense. And kind of like how South Carolina was when they've had good teams under Martin, really good smothering D, and the Gamecocks were just overwhelmed, and that was it's unfortunate with the CBS national television audience and another opportunity for this program to kind of get that win that points things in the right direction. It just didn't happen. All right, Big Spur Brief is over. Thanks for subscribing to our YouTube page. Really appreciate all that. Don't forget, Inside the Gamecocks podcast, thebigspur.com, all your Gamecock stuff. We'll be back soon. Have a good one.